worked with Joe for about 9 years. He started as our CTO at Plantronics and pretty quickly became our CDO. I think we kind of all saw it coming. And it's been an experience being in the design team. I remember sending Joe an email saying that we were all very excited and happy that he was going to become our CEO because he has been in the trenches with us. He understands design, and he has an incredible heart, and he leads from his heart. He cares about people. He cares very passionately about our products, our brand, and honestly, I think his superpower that he may not even think about that often is this ability to kind of zoom in and out. So the story that I will make brief is we're dealing with this acquisition and all these things happening in the background that I don't have to deal with because I'm a designer. And Joe has this conversation with me about design. He finds the time to do this. And his point was that two of our headsets have the same icon, but they're treated differently. And the first thought was, how on earth is he noticing this detail when he's got all these other things to do? Well, it turns out he was right. It was a mistake, and I tried to come up with some justification for it, which I don't think was very good. But the point was, his doing this, his surfacing the issue, made the product better. And he does it all the time. He's always down in our design studio, wants to understand what we're doing, and really understands the value of our team. So thank you for that, Joe. Much appreciated. I'm honored to introduce Joe, my friend, colleague, and fellow Ohio State Buckeye.
Yeah, I was going to say, John and I are both from Ohio, so there'll be no hugging. We'll just kind of awkwardly wave at each other. That's kind of the way we do things back there, right? So, wow, what pictures? Holy smokes. All right, good. So a couple things. You probably notice I'm holding notes, so we're going way out on a limb here, and I promise I will be done in like 4 minutes. But what time is it now? 8:30-ish? Okay, about 4 hours ago, somebody says, hey, you're going to this Titans of Tech thing. It sounds really cool. What an honor. What story are you going to tell? Somebody that knows me very well in the company. And I tell them, they're like, yeah, that's okay, but why don't you tell the good story? And I said, the good story. And they said, tell that story you tell about how we're getting ready to fix that problem you've wanted to fix since you were 4. And when we fix it, it's really going to make the world a better place. So here goes, okay, on that one really quick. So I actually grew up back in rural Ohio in a construction family. So I grew up doing paving and fixing motors on the weekend for the family business. And interestingly enough, I was cripplingly shy, still actually more shy than you might imagine, but I was a voracious reader. I read every single thing that was available to me in a little bitty town, which was mostly a set of Funkin' Wagnall encyclopedias that you got each volume you got free when you bought groceries at the you're in my generation, you remember this. Okay, and they were about 10 years old. So I had the Funkin' Wagnall encyclopedias and the dictionary. And then when I eventually got to grade school, I had a little bitty library. But I grew up really, really shy and reading every one of these encyclopedias cover to cover, reading the dictionary over and over and over. And I wanted to read them, and I wanted to talk to people. Okay, so all this went on for a long time. I decided I wanted to go to college. I can't pay for college. My parents can't pay for college. So I actually joined the Army National Guard to pay for my college, go to college, do a little bit of time in the Army, and when I'm in college, I'm going to be a history teacher. This is what I want to do. And then I take a computer class, and I found my calling. So I get the degree in computer science, I learn how to program, there's all this information, and by the time I get out of the Army, I actually realize that what I want to do, what I want to solve, my passions, are the same two passions since I was 4 years old. I want everybody to be able to, number one, access any piece of information. And that problem was already on the way to being solved in the early 90s, right? Or pardon me, this would have been in the mid-80s. That problem's already being solved. So we've got CD-ROMs, then electronic bulletin boards, then AOL, then the internet. So, okay, Google's probably got that one. But the other thing is, how do we have quality conversations with anybody in the world? Okay? So I spend the first chapter of my career actually trying to make communications cheap. And once again, for those of you that are in my generation, you probably can remember back to the 80s and early 90s when having a telephone call with somebody in Europe was dollars per minute. Video conferencing either didn't work at all or it was hugely expensive and only for executives, right? Okay, just not there. So I was fortunate enough to be involved with a bunch of companies where we helped make communications what it is today, which is dirt cheap. So from voice over IP to Skype to WhatsApp to FaceTime, at this point you can pretty much call anybody in the world. And the two things we can say about it is, well, three things. Number one, you can call anybody. Number two, you can do it for free. And number three, it sucks. Right? I mean, I think everybody agrees that it's not what it should be. All right. So enter chapter 3. And this is what I'm so thrilled that I'm still able to help solve this problem at Poly. Chapter 3 is how do we actually take communications and make it truly as rich and natural as face-to-face. And this is the great part that I love about working with people like John and Darren Caddis, his boss, and so forth. When we actually talk about when you have a magical moment in the room, when we're all in the room together and we're having a great conversation, the things that make it great are harder than you could possibly imagine. There's a bunch of psychology around us all being about the same size, looking each other in the eye. You're nodding at me and giving me feedback that we're grooving and I know that I've got you. Somebody else is looking at me skeptically, so I kind of try and pull them in differently. Your voice is coming from there, your voice is coming from there, and we're all in the same room, so we've got the same lighting and we're the same size, okay? If you think about a video conference, a web collaboration, that's not the experience today. The really cool thing is, as we work with psychologists and behavioral people, building products that can actually truly level the playing field, that can truly let us be in the room together, restores a lot of things, okay? It gives rural kids in Ohio, it gives people in Santa Cruz, it gives people in China the ability to not only access that information, but to access those rich conversations. You don't have to drive over the hill to get a great job. You can stay here in Santa Cruz where there's a fantastic tech community. And if there's some specialist that you need to be an integral part of your team, you can let them live in Idaho. Everybody gets to be everybody gets a first-class seat at the table, no matter where they live, big company or small company, rich or poor, and we just find this to be incredibly exciting. So this is why I do what I do, and I think it has the ability to really help equalize the world in some really, really amazing and environmentally friendly ways. So super happy that we're doing all this at Poly right here in Santa Cruz. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Joe.